At first glance, this picture doesn't look unusual. It's just a simple portrait of a man wearing plain clothes, standing outside, looking into the camera. But if you pay attention, something about it feels a little strange. His expression doesn't fit what we expect from a photo taken more than a century ago. I mean, more than 100 years ago. There's a kind of casualism in his face, almost like he was caught off guard in the middle of a laugh. He looks human in a way that feels incredibly modern, and that's where the surprise comes in. Because this photo wasn't taken last year or even 50 years ago. It was taken in 1901, 123 years ago. Now, when most of us imagine photos from the early 1900s, we picture stiff, serious portraits, men in suits, women in dresses, all standing perfectly, still with no smiles at all. That's the image of the past we are used to. Old photographs carry this weight of formality, and it makes sense once you know why. Back then, photography was expensive. I mean, really expensive. They were slow and rare. People treated it as a once-in-a-lifetime event, and because camera wasn't as fast as they were today, subjects often had to sit still for several seconds, sometimes minutes, just to get the clear shots. That's why you see so many grim, unsmiling faces in old photos. It was easier to hold a neutral expression than a smile. But this man, a Chinese farmer living in 1901, did something unusual. Instead of following the unspoken rule of looking serious, he gave the camera an expression that feels alive, that we can even resonate with it till date. A slight smile, a curious gaze, something almost playful. And when people see this photo today, it feels out of place. It doesn't fit in the picture we have in our head of what the past should look like. That's why so many people online debate whether this image is real or fake. It looks too modern, too casual, but the truth is it's absolutely real. And that raises an interesting question. Why does this photo hit so differently than other photos from the same period? Part of the reason is psychology. We expect the past to feel distant, almost like another world. When we see black and white photos, our brains automatically put a barrier between then and now. These people lived long ago. Their lives must have been different from ours. But every now and then, an old photo breaks through that barrier. It captures a moment, a look, an expression that feels just as human as anything we will see today. And suddenly, the past doesn't feel so far away from us anymore. The farmer from 1901 could easily be mistaken for someone in the 21st century. The slight tilt of his head, the way his eyes engage with the lens, even the relaxed posture, it all feels familiar. It's almost like he's photobombing history, and it's in that moment that we remember something important no matter how far back you go. People were still people. They laughed, they joked, they made faces, they teased each other. We tend to imagine the past as being filled with only serious people because that's what the majority of surviving photos shows us. But in reality, those serious portraits didn't reflect daily life. They reflected the weight of the occasions. Think about it this way. If you only judge our world today by passport photos, you would think nobody ever smiled. If you only looked at driver's license photos, you would believe we are most miserable generation in history. But we know that's not true. We smile every day, we laugh every day. The same was true 123 years ago. The difference is we rarely see those candid moments from the past. That's why when they do show up, like this photo of the farmer, they hit us so hard. There is also something to be said about cultural context. In China, at the time, photography was still relatively new, especially outside major cities. For rural farmers, getting their photos taken could have been once in a lifetime event. Many people approach it with reverence, almost like being painted in a portrait. But every so often, someone broke away from the tradition and showed their personality. Maybe this farmer had a good relationship with the photographer. Maybe he was amused by the strange box with a lens being pointed at him. Or maybe he simply didn't see why he had to be serious. Whatever the reason, his decision to relax for the camera gave us a rare glimpse into his humanity. And that's why this photo still resonates today, because it challenged the idea that people in the past were fundamentally different from us. It reminds us that across time, across cultures, across generations, human emotions are the same. The same way someone today might crack a smile in a selfie or pull a goofy face for Instagram, this farmer in 1901 did something similar without even realizing how powerful it would be more than a century later. The internet loves to debate this kind of photo. Some people argued it's fake, that it must be digitally altered because of how modern it looks. Others insist it can't be from 1901 because it breaks the stereotype of what history should look like. But maybe that's the lesson here. The past doesn't always look like the way we expect it to be. Sometimes it looks surprisingly familiar. Sometimes it stares back at us and says, I was just like you. And that's where the magic of photography lies. Photographs are time machines. They capture a split second and freeze it forever. When we look at the farmer's face, we're not just seeing a random man from 1901. We are connecting with him across 123 years ago. He had no idea when he stood for that picture that people in the year 2025 and beyond will still be looking at him, still talking about him, and finding something in his expression that feels alive. That's the strange and wonderful part of history that we have no control over. So yes, this photo is real, and yes, it was taken in 1901, and yes, again, it looks strange to us because it doesn't fit the norm, but maybe that's the most powerful thing about it. It proves that humanity doesn't change as much as we think. Technology changes, culture shifts, societies rise and fall, but a smile, a curious look into a camera lens, those things are eternal. And this brings us to the end of this story. If you enjoy this story, then you want to watch this particular video here about some of the dangerous events and dangerous years to be alive. I can't wait to see you there. Don't forget, on this channel, we post twice a week, Monday and Friday. Also do well to like, comment, and share this video. I'll see you in the next one. I remain Joshua Tejo. Bye for now.